Hi, I'm Garrett Holmes, and this is the Key Terms Project for Garrett, Hitarth, Cyrus, and Nathaniel. And basically what we did was we went through the rubric and we identified an action verb and the subject of that action verb. And we've got 9 of those to lay out and kind of give you examples of. So, hope you're excited.
So the first one is identify author's argument. And basically, that's what the author is arguing. Duh, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to find statements where they're trying to prove what they're saying. It's the main point that they're trying to make. Picture it as if they were saying this to you in like a really, really intense fashion. They're trying to get you to agree with them. What are they trying to get you to agree with them on? It's as simple as that. So to find it, you're going to identify sentences where they're trying to make their point to you through evidence and appeals. Alright, so we want you to identify the argument in this paragraph right here, so pause your video now and do that. So the argument that we came together as a group and decided on was basically that the author is trying to say that together they can change America for the better. And that's what he's trying to argue, and so they need to support this integration plan to try and make America a better place. Alright, so the next key term is establish main idea, and to do that we have a foolproof 12-step system that's going to get you through it every time. No, psych, it's the main idea. Write it down. That simple.
Alright, so go through this paragraph and establish what the main idea is. Pause your video now and do that. Alright, so the main idea here is pretty simple. People are dying, and as they're dying, culture is dying with them. Establishing the main idea is that easy.
Okay, the next key term is determine thesis, and thesis is a short, usually one-sentence statement that's going to tell the reader the main idea and the argument all in one. So the evidence throughout the whole work is going to be used to try and prove the thesis. The thesis is not necessarily at the beginning. Could be right in the middle. Those things are sneaky. You never know. Always check. So we want you to determine the thesis in the following paragraph. Pause your video and do that now. Alright, there were a couple of different options that you could have chosen here. The one that our group chose was the sentence that starts with, "but these breakthroughs," and ends in, "revolution in molecular biology." Fourth term is explain line of reasoning, and a line of reasoning is basically the author's argument and how it logically goes together to prove the thesis. Hey, those are both things we talked about already. So, line of reasoning in its simplest form is going to be syllogism. We learned that in geometry. Or we should have learned that in geometry. So what syllogism is A equals B and B equals C, therefore A equals C. So for this one, we want you to explain the line of reasoning, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult because this one's more fact-based and not really claim-based, but go ahead and pause your video and do that now. Alright, so the line of reasoning that we came upon was basically time-lapse technology can be used to prove plant movement, and that plant movement has gone to prove that plants do in fact have a social life. That's the author's line of reasoning here. Alright, so the next term is accurately identifies relevant claims. That's a mouthful, basically. Find a sentence where the author is trying to prove something, but it's not a fact, and highlight it. You've identified a relevant claim. Good job. So identify the accurate claims in the following. Pause your video and do that now. Alright, so the main claim is that mosquitoes shouldn't be eradicated. The reason that's a claim is because it's not really proven. It's more of an opinion. But the main evidence that they use to try and prove that is that there are a lot of unknowns when eliminating mosquitoes that might change the ecosystem, that we shouldn't do it because we don't really know what's going to happen. So that's the evidence they tried to use to prove that claim. Alright, the next one is evaluate the effectiveness of evidence, triple E. So basically, you're going to find their facts and decide how important it is and how much you think it worked to prove their argument and their thesis, and that determines how effective it was. So effective evidence is going to have a coherent connection between the evidence and the main idea, and it's going to have a clear explanation. It's going to be relevant, it's going to be well organized, it's going to be defined. Okay, so here, analyze the effectiveness of this evidence. Basically, what we want you to do is ask the question, which piece of evidence is most important here? Go ahead and pause your video and do that now. Okay, so the problem with this is that depending on what question they're asking you, different pieces of evidence are more important. The first sentence gives you facts. It tells you what the Elmo's fire is. But the last sentence gives you context. It tells you where it was found and why it was named and who it affected. So depending on what their question was, either of those could have been correct answers.
So basically what's going to happen is they're going to give you two arguments, and you have to turn those into one super argument where you argue both of them and try and determine which one is more relevant or more correct. And we're going to have you do an example up here in a second. Okay, which one of these arguments is right? What we want you to do is we want you to synthesize these arguments into one argument, a third one that's completely different based on the other two, trying to determine which one is correct. Is football better or is soccer better? Use the evidence that they give you, not your own personal bias. Pause your video and do that now. You want to figure out if the thing you're reading is stupid or if the person's right. So the way you're going to do that is you have to consider the qualifications of the author. Why do they know what they know, and why is that important to me when I'm trying to determine if they're right or not? So is this source credible, and if so, how do they make that known? Pause your video and do that now. So the way they establish their credibility is they provide examples from the show. This lets you know how they know what they're talking about, and it gives them a trust quality because they're giving you examples, they're not just spitting out their opinion.
Okay, so the last one is build organized arguments, and to do this, you basically have to synthesize all of this evidence and claims from 4 or more different documents into one super complex argument of your own, and you have to link all of the different pieces of all of the different things together into one super argument and draw a bunch of connections, and to do this, you're going to need a clear plan and a lot of organization skills.
So rather than giving you 16 documents and asking you to build an argument, we gave you one document, and you're going to explain to us how you could build an argument from the following. Here's our works cited. Thanks for dedicating 5 to 7 minutes of your life to us. We really appreciate it.